Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk, guys. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into this episode of World of Tanks. And it is me and my CS52 LIS, Polish Premium Medium Tier 8 tank. Just released. I quite like this. It's kind of a super T44-100. A little bit bigger, a little bit easier to hit, harder hitting gun, a bit derpier. But there's a review I have out on that. We're not going to talk about this tank in particular here. You can see I'm in a pure Tier 8 battle on Lakeville. What we are going to talk about is using the old gray matter computer up here when you're playing the game. I do talk about a lot about, we'll get the game going here. I do talk a lot about assessing the map that you're on, taking a look at the loadout on the two sides, and then making an informed decision based on how the meta typically plays on a map. And that's very important because the high percentage play, the majority of the time on each map, the game will play out in a certain way or very close to it. But that's not every time. That's not every time. And there is a significant portion, and I think so especially right now even more, there are non-standard plays being made or non-standard deployments being made. Lakeville's a great example because even though it does have a pretty solid meta on how to win, there's always the draw of the Valley of the Noobs, okay? So the Valley of the Noobs is always going to draw people. Sometimes it's only a couple and you're good and you can win the city. The other thing that will draw people, and we're going to pause it right here, is all the dudes camping down there in the south waiting for shots from the LTTB. I don't know who they're waiting to shoot. I guess the few guys that might be on the middle road, right? And that can be a good play if you can kill some of their scouts or unwise mediums maybe moving along there or TDs or something. You can remove those hit points. But we've got a good chunk of people in the Valley of the Noobs. We have a good chunk of people at Camp Alama Ding Dang back there. And right off the bat, we've had a couple videos on this lately talking about assessing kind of the non-standard, right? So the high percentage play on each map, it exists. A lot of us know what that is as far as what the meta, how you win a map. This one tends to be win the city, win the map, hold the valley enough that you don't get flanked. That's about all you have to do. It's pretty easy. But it doesn't always go that way, right? The problem is that nobody's playing with the same playbook. You don't have to play with the same playbook. Sometimes people just want to be different. Essentially, there are 30 people in the game and they all get a vote. So once those votes are tabulated, you've got to look at what's going on and assess. So we're going to talk about that as we go because clearly, as I'm moving into the town, I remember this one clearly. I remember this one clearly. I'm thinking, I don't really like what I'm seeing. I'm going to go to town, see what's happening. The Bulldog is maybe going to give me a free shot here. Then I'm going to have to figure out what I want to do from here. This is like every first shot of the game I have. They always do something like crit no damage. Anyway, so the Bulldog pulls back and I'm thinking, well, okay, there's about 3 of us here and nothing really has changed. There's a guy in the middle, there's an ELC 9, even 90 watching the whole middle part of the map. We got the 3 or 4 campers in the back and there's about 3 of us in the town. An STA2, myself, a light that's raging off, and then a 130 that's kind of holding on. So I'm looking at this and going, all right, I've seen this one before, right? This is not meta. I am hoping that the enemy team doesn't play it meta, but I think it turns out that they do because we're about to find a bunch of the enemy tanks in the middle. The LTTB died. You can see that the Valley push is not really meeting anybody. That's problematic, right? So as I'm assessing this, I'm looking at it and thinking, all right, where are all of the red guys? Well, one has just showed up over in the west, but I feel like there's a big push coming through the town right here. It could be that they're doing kind of the same thing. They have a bunch in the valley, they have some guys camping in the back, and only 3 or 4 coming into the city. But I don't know that, and I don't want to overextend. The STA2 has already pulled out of the city, basically. I'm the only one that's any kind of distance into the city. I get an unfortunate bounce off the Carnarvon, and so you can see me check 6, turn around to see where my guys are. I'm watching the mini-map, I'm like, this is not good. Now, I recently had a video, one of you guys sent in with a Thunderbolt who had fallen back, actually never really got there, but back about where the AMX is and the Barask is, and just kind of held that position for all the campers in the back. And I thought, well, that's about the best I can hope for right here, right? It's going to be, discretion is going to be the better part of valor in the case of this match. If I sit in the town, then I'm probably going to die. So there you go, use the brain. The other thing I'm noticing is look at the Valley push. The Valley push is headed on in there. That's going to draw some of their guys back. You might look at that and go, ooh, you have a really good chance they're getting flanked. But the problem is there's 14 tanks of theirs left still. And a lot of them have been unspotted. We don't have a good idea of what these guys are doing. Are they going to come barreling through the city? Are they all flexing back? Is it a bit of a mix? It usually is a bit of a mix, to be honest. I can see that they're pushing in. The enemy team is probably right now feeling like, ooh, the Greens have a strong push in the valley. Our light forces over by our cap are going to be able to hold them, so why don't we push into their cap? And this is usually what happens. That's kind of the meta. They've won the town and they feel like they can push in. The problem being, of course, that there's still a lot of guns on the map. Tons of guns on the map. And they're going to push into kind of a withering counterfire right here. I've got the guys back there. I'm going to tuck into this little nook. And look at this guy. He's like, all right, we're going to own him. We're just coming on in. And I'm thinking, well, that's not great. Try to avoid getting as many hits as possible from the Carnarvon. I do, and down goes that guy. See if we can get a little shot on that guy. There we go. Another 312. He has a small gun. Not hitting very hard. I'm hitting for 312. So if I can avoid letting him have 2 for 1 on me, then we should be in good shape. Unfortunately, I get into the track. I've got to fix so I can get out of the way. He reloads nice and quickly. I'll be a little bit more careful. I go for this little hatch dude right here. Not so much. I think the other one's a better choice, actually. It's a little bit bigger. I'm waiting for my TDs to help. Team's not doing great, right? The push into their cap, you can see that it drew a lot of their campers, and guys that were probably pushing towards the city have gone back to defeat that. Thank goodness I'm only taking on a couple guys here. I'm able to sneak one into the Mod 1. It just felt like his turret was going to be more likely to be pinned than the Carnarvon, so we need to finish him off. I'll just come in, do that right there, and all of a sudden the AMX M449 shows up, so I'm going to make a move across. Go and do this without getting hit. A little bounce. Now he is being counter pushed. So look at all the guys we've got pushing in. Going for the track and the damage, but I get the damage, but I don't get the track. Alright, so now it's a counter push, right? We held off that. There was nobody in there for me to... There was nobody in the town to help me, so I had to fall back. This is something I was really unable to do for a very... I should not have let him have that second shot. I should have backed up the first one that hit me. What I used to do is get angry and sit in the town and go, hey, this is the meta. We need to hold the town. I guess I'll have to try to do my best. Well, that wasn't going to happen. You saw how many tanks come through. If I'd have stayed in there, I'd already be out of the game. So you've got to start to be able to critically assess what's going on, react to it, and then go with the flow from there. Now, this isn't one by any means. They sent a lot of guys back to defend against that push. It's kind of surprising that our push actually lasted as long as it did, but there's some decent hold down positions there for both sides, so they were probably just picking at each other's turrets over and over again. So we'll push in here. We have the Barask, who's out in front. He's going to probably do a pretty good job of getting some lights. We'll filter through. Getting rid of the artillery is going to be important. That helps out. And now I'm just going to kind of come up here and see if we can get a few shots on these dudes. And, oh, I had a shot and I let that go. That wasn't great, but there's that one. A little shot on the 130. PM, it would be nice to get rid of the even 90. The even 90 is sort of stopping me from moving up for the moment. If we can get rid of that dude, and he is lit there, then we are going to have an opportunity to get in. I can see this dude's pushing on the Barask. I'd really like to preserve the Barask. Nice speed, nice spotting. There we go. Now I'm thinking we've got to get rid of this even 90. What's also now noticed is that the push through the Valley of the Noobs has been defeated, and now that means potentially somebody can be pushing back into our backfield. So now there's an open flank, and that could be trouble. That could be trouble. Get rid of the even 90. There's another even 90 that was in the defense, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'll bet you anything that that other enemy even 90 is going to push into our cap, go after our artillery. So we've got some guys pushing in, trying to figure this out. I know that there's the Su-130 PM up there. I really don't want to get nuked by him. In fact, you can probably one-shot me with a high roll, and that would suck quite a bit. So we're taking a look here, trying to figure it out. There's no enemy artillery. We have one, but I feel like he's going to be in danger pretty quickly. I see the Su-130 PM way back there. My assumption is he's trying to protect the arty, but I don't have a good idea of why he is in that position, because it's not a great position to help. The Su-130 is going to push in. I'd be like, oh, just barely had a shot. He's 100%. So there's another guy. The CS-52 is back there. The artillery dies, and guess what? The even 90 has made his presence known. And now we've got a problem in the backfield. I'm thinking, all right, surely the Su-130 PM's just going to push in there and get him. And it's like I always say, if you need something done, you might as well do it yourself, right? Using the gray matter. I have to change the plan. Looks pretty good to push into them, start taking on their defenders, get lit running away. That was a bit of a bummer. I'm pretty sure it was lit by the Su-130. The only reason I'm going to get away with this, by the way, is the Borosk is keeping him busy. Otherwise, he'd have been pushed up and be able to come around that corner and probably pop me. So he's trying to get in there, and I need to go get rid of this Su-130. All right, the ELC even 90. My Su-130 is finally pushing in. So all the way back to Cap, right into the city, looking for the meta version of the game to show up. It doesn't. Back to defend, counter push into the city, push to their Cap. Holy crap, lost a flank. Their Borosk is now on our Cap, along with, I think, the even 90 that died. And all of a sudden, I've got to get in here and make this happen. Meanwhile, our guys are kind of futzing around with the two, and it's 2-3. All right, so now I'm looking at this going, okay. 2-3, there's the Borosk, and there's the C-52 LIS, and I'm thinking, you know what, I'll bet you anything that Borosk is going back. That's my guess. He can two-shot me, and I'm not going to be able to kill him with one shot. So initially, I turtle up here thinking, well, maybe my Borosk is coming back to help, but he doesn't. And I'm thinking, you know what, and someone says it right there in the chat, watch for rotation. I'm thinking, yeah, I think I'm going to go back here and let's see if we can cap out. Because if they want to jump to the cap, we can put 3 on and probably out cap them. So I'm going to back out of this. And as long, there we go. Once that guy lights up, I know they can't put 2 guys on cap and get rid of, and out cap us. So let's push in here and get rid of the CS-52. And it looks like the guys I've got over here on the cap are going to be able to handle it. Thankfully, that guy, for whatever reason, did not wait for his Borosk to come back, or his Borosk wasn't on the way back. Now, I get lit, so I know their Borosk knows the jig is up. So I'm just going to keep committing. If we put 2 on cap, even 3, or have the Borosk back there kind of hiding in the bushes, and the enemy Borosk comes back around the corner, then we will be able to probably kill him before he kills all 3 of us. But it could be close. He could get me with 2 shots, or he could maul me and kill the STA-2. We'll go ahead and see. So, into town. That's not working. The meta didn't develop. I fall back. We beat up their push. We counterattack into the city, clean up what was coming through there, push towards their cap. Our push in the Valley of the Noobs loses. Now we've got to think about, all right, what's next? They're messing around our cap. I went back to deal with that. The guys on cap or up near their cap did a pretty good job of clearing them out. And then advantage us 3-1. And then the Borosk is going to basically come screaming around this corner. We're just waiting. We got 2 guys. There he is. So he's game. He's making a go of it. I put 320 into him. He eats a shot from our Borosk, 2 of them. And with all those hit points, brings him down. He's on a reload. Brings him down to a 1 shot for me. And that was about as textbook as you could have hoped for that particular situation, at least end game. Putting 2 on, a guy supporting in the back. I've had several videos on this lately as well, talking about cap conditions, when you want to do it and how you want to do it, and that was pretty textbook right there. So all over the map, you got to react to the situation at hand, not attempt to stuff the square peg into the round hole every time. And it's been a long journey for me to do that. I mean, I've been a pretty good player for a long time, but trying to unlearn the just go to the best spot, fight the best spot as best you can, and then either die or win. Being a little bit more dynamic, moving around the board a little bit more, trying to assess where I need to be next. And I think the biggest one is earlier analysis of it's not developing as a meta gameplay type of match. What do I do now to turn that into my advantage? That's a key. How do I take a non-meta match and earlier and more solidly turn it into my advantage, even though it looks like a big disadvantage for the team? How do I react, rotate, flex, meta flex, and turn that into my advantage? So I think this one's a pretty good example right here. We get 3,046 damage, 419 assists. I got a couple kills, and we end up with a win on a nice close one. That's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the support of the channel. If you're looking for other ways to do so, you'll find those down in the description. That's all I've got. We will see ya.